Good morning. That's a little better. We need all the Baptists behind the tent to come sit in the chairs. Come on up and come around to the side so you can see as our speakers make their way to the stage.
Where do we go? Is this okay? All right. Come on, Sam. David Webber. Appalachian Wildlife Center.
He's the same behind
Oh, okay. No, you're fine. You're fine. Thank you. You want to sit here? I think it's the last two.
I'm going to invite the local singing group up, Good Ground, and they're going to open us with the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes in bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Another big hand for that group, local singers. We're going to share one more song at our close. I'm going to open us up with a prayer this morning, if that would be okay. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful weather. Lord, we thank you for the beautiful scenery that's around us. Lord, we thank you for people that you call into leadership and you give visions to. Lord, for people who are courageous to follow through with them and the evidence that is here because of that. Lord, we thank you for what this day means. We ask that you bless this effort. Lord, that you make it a place of hope, a place of opportunity, and an example example of what's possible in eastern Kentucky. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I'm going to recognize our speakers today. We have several on the stage with us, and we have to understand. I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Jared Arnett, the executive director of SOAR, so you don't think, who's that guy up there talking? And I'm here because of what SOAR represents, and that is a partnership between the governor of Kentucky and the congressman of the 5th District. And what that collaboration, as it filters through the staff of the congressman and the administration of the governor, what that makes possible when you have local leaders who have a vision and are driving projects that are transformational in nature and creating economic opportunity. I'm by no means here to take credit for this day, but here to congratulate the many people who have played a hand in this for many years to make this day possible. I want to recognize on the stage, of course, we have our governor, Matt Bevin. Big hand for the governor. We have our congressman, Hal Rogers. We have Bell County Judge Executive Albie Brock. We have Harlan County Judge Executive Dan Mosley. And we have President of the Appalachian Wildlife Center, David Ledford, who has championed this project. It's been a couple years ago we sat down in a hotel lobby and talked about his vision for what this day would look like and what this project means. He's been a champion for it. We also have the Secretary of the Energy and Environment Cabinet, Charles Snavely. We also have the Commissioner for the Department of Local Government, Sandy Donahue. And we have the Deputy Secretary of the Tourism, Arts, and Heritage Cabinet, Regina Stivers. Each of these people played a critical role in making today possible, and we owe a great debt of gratitude to them and many that are in the crowd today that have championed this vision for a long time. I'm going to bring to the stage to make the formal announcement and talk about what this project means and what we have been working toward. The great governor of our state, Matt Bevin.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. I don't know where you came from. I can't imagine you would have been enjoying your time or your view more than you're enjoying it right now, though. This is a special place. How about another hand for these young ladies who sang for us? That was awesome. And am I correct in understanding that you sing under the name Good Ground? Is that right? What a perfectly appropriate name when you consider where we are right now. I mean, this is indeed good ground, and we are blessed to be here. Thanks again, ladies. This is awesome. And we're just blessed to be Americans, are we not? I mean, for all the noise and all the static and all the hassle and all the whatever that goes along with the political season and everything that we seem to be getting inundated with. Nonetheless, how blessed we are to be Americans, to be Kentuckians, to be here on this good ground at this time. This is an extraordinary time to be an American. I just met a man a moment ago who I misplaced his card and I would mispronounce his name. Lakos, I think is his first name. Lacus, where is Lacus? Lacus, where are you? He's Memonidas. He's right here. Today, 40 years ago today, he became an American citizen. 40 years ago today. And I'll tell you, Lacus, you understand what is at stake. You understand how fragile it is that we have this freedom and this luxury of things we take for granted. And we have the ability to live in the land of the free and the home of the brave, as we just sang about. This is an incredible opportunity. I was struck by a couple of things. I don't want to steal the thunder of giving all the details of what's going to be announced. There will be others that will follow, judge executives, the congressmen, who will give some of the details. And some of you know them. This is not a really well-kept secret. I think we've kind of figured out what we're doing here, and it's awesome. But I want to touch on just a couple of things. When Jared gave his invocation a moment ago, there were a couple of words that he used that struck me. One was vision. The other was opportunity. And there were a number of other words in there as well, but I want to just touch briefly on those two because they resonated with me as I listened to him. It's often when people look back in history and they look at certain people, men and women, who they say that person was a visionary. This person was somebody of vision. And somebody asked me one time, what is it that makes a person of vision? What is it that makes visionaries? And I hadn't thought about it, but I said to them something that I was reminded of as I heard Jared a moment ago. Every child, and there's some young people here, including the young ladies who sang for us, but every child, including like this young man in the front row, I mean, when you start out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, there is nothing that you do not believe is possible, nothing. If you are asked what you want to believe, you say whatever you want to be, and in your 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old mind, you are confident you could be that. And indeed, in America, this is a land of opportunity where people have the ability to pursue that American dream and to be anything they could be. And yet so many of us at some point, once you start getting into the double-digit years of our lives and beyond, some of those confidences and those dreams and those aspirations begin to fade away. Maybe they're beaten down by people giving us influence that says we can't do something, or maybe it's just life, or maybe we're tired, or who knows what. But suddenly that innate ability to dream begins to fade away. So what's the difference then between somebody who at the end of their life, history looks at them as somebody who was just a dreamer at one point or maybe forever, and somebody who was a visionary? What's the difference? The difference is one simple thing. It's action. That's it. It's really not that complicated. The people that history looks at as the visionaries are the people who took action. And today we're here to celebrate a series of actions that have culminated in the announcement we're about to make, in the unveiling of this initial and simple and rudimentary marker. But it is something that is powerful because it is the result of people not just dreaming about this. I mean, you look at this vista. I feel bad that I'm pointing the wrong way. You all have it good. I mean, this is stunning. This is stunning. It really, truly is. There's a verse that's actually written over our breakfast table. It's on the wall, in letters on the wall in our kitchen. It says, "This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." And I'm reminded of that when I see the beauty of God's creation and the beauty of what we now have the opportunity to celebrate here. We have indeed the ability to take a dream and turn this into a vision that comes to fruition because of the efforts of those that will follow me and so many others that are here, and I appreciate you being here to celebrate that. The other word that was used was opportunity. And I'll tell you what's interesting about opportunity. Opportunity surrounds us everywhere. Eastern Kentucky is ripe with opportunity. Bell County, this whole community, this area is ripe with opportunity. But opportunity doesn't always come gift-wrapped to us. The man who was probably one of the most prolific inventors ever in the history of the world, certainly of America, a man who, among other things, is probably most famous for having invented the light bulb, Thomas Edison, once made this observation about opportunity. He said, most people in life miss opportunity. He said, because it usually shows up in overalls and looks like hard work. And that's the truth. There's a lot of hard work that has gone into creating this opportunity that is before us. And yet here it is, an extraordinary opportunity. In our responsibility, my responsibility as governor, that of our administration, that of us as Kentuckians, is to seize this opportunity, to not shirk from the work that is involved. Even now, the announcements that are going to be made are going to really start to take root in 2018, 19, and in the years beyond. But we are putting seeds in the ground now. And there is a germination process. Some seeds have already been planted. You'll hear about those. And there have been efforts that have been made by people literally on the ground, people in Washington finding funds and dollars to help make this happen. But the germination process is different for everything, and you all know that. Anybody who's raised crops understands this. Some things are quick. I've often said the fastest thing, and anyone who's ever had gardens knows this, the fastest thing you can grow from a seed to your table is, some of you would know this, is a radish. But who really wants to eat radishes all the time? I mean, you can eat them. You know, they might be good for a little bit, but the things, if you want corn and you want melons and you want pumpkins and you want things of more substance, it takes time. And what we have behind us is something, the germination process has begun. But in the days, weeks, months, and years to come, it's going to be on us. Not only those on the stage, but each of you as well, in some measure. We're the gardeners. We're the ones that have to come along and tend this soil. We need to cultivate, we need to hoe, we need to weed, we need to thin, we need to water, we need to fertilize. That's our job. And so let's not grow weary at this opportunity. Let's get our overalls on. Let's seize this opportunity because it will be extraordinary. It is estimated that within 5, 6, 7 years, there will be more than 500,000 people, 600,000+ people a year that will be able to come. And I think if we take full advantage of what we look at around here, I think that's just beginning to scratch the surface. Incredible opportunities here. So much of the cultivation to this point, so much of the opportunity that we are now getting ready to celebrate the launching point of has been put in place because of one guy who has for many, many years busted his tail on behalf of this region over and over and over again. Now, in fairness, it's not like he's done this in anonymity because his name's on everything. But I will say this, he has done far more, truly, than people know. And I'll be the first to admit, I was saying this as we were driving in here, I was telling some of the folks on my team, I have, with every passing day, week, hour, month, year, whatever that I've gotten to spend with the man I'm about to introduce, I've gotten increasing respect and appreciation for what he has done, for his true, genuine passion for Kentucky and for the people of this district in eastern Kentucky in particular. He's a man with a passion to do what's right. He has served for decades on behalf of our state, on behalf of the people of this district. He's a man who I am really, truly honored to call a friend, a confidant, somebody that I have learned from, somebody who has a passion, who is as responsible as anyone else for the things that are being announced here today. A man who has helped to make this possible using the influence and the passion and the drive that he has. A man that really doesn't need an introduction, but that I'm happy to introduce to you now as your Congressman, Hal Rogers.
Thank you. Governor, distinguished platform guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, number one, for being here today. But where could you go any better than this? A spectacular setting. There's hardly any place left in this world, especially in the world that you and I run around in, where you cannot see any evidence from horizon to horizon, any evidence of humankind. I mean, you point out a house or a road or anything else, and I'll give you a quarter. It's spectacular. Governor, thank you for that generous introduction, my friend. You know, I've come to really admire and respect this man. He does what he thinks is best, regardless of what the consequences might or might not be. He's courageous, he has convictions, and he is able to articulate the things that are important to him. And so, Governor, thank you for, number one, being here today, but for being a great governor, and being the co-chairman of SOAR, which is the sponsoring organization here. This is a new season for Eastern Kentucky. No doubt about it. We're learning, and this is a good example of it, we're learning to take advantage of the things that make us unique in building a new economy for eastern Kentucky. One of the greatest things that make us unique is the beauty that surrounds us. And the animals that are now our friends and relation here on this spectacular piece of property, that people will come and see and admire and love, and while they're here, hopefully spend some money. So, we are being reinvigorated to see beyond the current economic difficulties we face and see new opportunities on the horizon that we can take advantage of. One of my favorite people ever, Winston Churchill, said this. He said, "The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity." He says, "The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty." Now, no one can argue that we're having some economic difficulties. And we could be depressed and we could be reticent. We could stand back and say, well, I'm not going to try to do anything about that. Or you can leap forward, bring your ideas forward, let people like me and the others who are your followers get in behind you and push and shove and make some good things happen. And that's what's happening precisely right here. You could not pick a better example, Jared, of the importance of us making our own future, thinking of our ideas, putting our shoulder behind the wheel, and making it happen and bring it to fruition, and then watch it blossom and grow and expand. And that's what will happen here. This property, by the way, was one of the first, if not the first, surface mine in Kentucky. This was the old Asher property. I remember going to Ed Asher's office in Pineville when I first got in this business and sitting down there in that office with 4 or 5 of his friends. And they pretty well ran politics in Bell County, at least. But this was the home base of the Asher mining operations. But dozens of families moved here from Alabama, elsewhere to work and raise their families. Then after the operation closed down, a valiant effort was made to redevelop the land into an industrial park, which is what you see here today. But in 2014, David Ledford and the Appalachian Wildlife Foundation had a new vision for a different opportunity, one that will highlight the beautiful land, the thriving wildlife population, educating our children and families, bringing this land's value full circle to a whole new unthought of possibility that we now see. Over the last 3 years, David and the Appalachian Wildlife Foundation have been diligent in bringing this project together. And believe me, they know the definition of perseverance. So thank you, David, for sticking with it over this time. SOAR, of which the governor and I have the distinct honor to co-chair, has brought together leaders from every sector of our communities, breaking down the silos that have divided us. Today is a celebration of partnerships and collaboration between leaders in tourism, environmental education, economic development at the federal, state, and local levels. Whether we're celebrating a tourism-focused project like the Appalachian Wildlife Center, our new workforce training programs at our community colleges, or new manufacturing and high-tech jobs in our communities, it's all a part of shaping our Appalachian region. Our future, hear me out on this, our future depends upon our ingenuity, our ability to see beyond the desperation of the coal fields of today, where more than 11,000 of our coal mining friends have been laid off over the last several years. We're in uncharted waters. So we've got to think outside the box, just like Tim and David Howard are doing in Harlan County. Their investment in a new alternative energy manufacturing center called Harlan Wood Products represents the type of ingenuity that we need to replicate across our region. Tim and David Howard are mining engineers by trade. But when the coal decline became unbearable, they didn't leave town. They decided to research a new way to employ people in Harlan County. And they've invested a large portion of their own money to make that project happen. So I applaud their commitment and personal investment in the mountains of Kentucky. In addition to their private investment, by the way, the $2.5 million Abandoned Mine Lands Pilot Project grant will go a long way to re-employ our talented workforce over in Harlan County. The land we're standing on today is a prime example of why we are in dire need of assistance, like the AML pilot project and power grants. But we also need regulatory relief from the Obama administration's war on coal, because we're not giving up on coal. As chairman of the House Appropriations Committee, the Abandoned Mine Lands Pilot Project is one of my most prized pieces of legislation because it directs new funding to our hardest hit coal counties to accomplish two clear goals. One, reclamation, but two, economic development alongside it, repairing and rebuilding our region as we go. In the 2016 Omnibus Federal Funding Bill, which funded the entire government for the entire year, we were able to secure $30 million for Kentucky through the AML pilot project, which helped fund the projects that we're celebrating here today. Overall, the Appalachian Wildlife Center is a $24 million project. The combined AML funding and Appalachian Regional Commission funding of $1.8 million last week, that takes us a long way down the road, but the foundation has a little less than half left to raise. Let me assure you, this is a worthy project that we're investing in. The Appalachian Wildlife Center has the potential to transform tourism in our region. There's no place in the country with a better story than eastern Kentucky, and it started right here in Bell County when Daniel Boone came through that gap, blazing what we became known to call the Wilderness Trail. To help tell his story, we have one of the most beautiful parks in the country, Cumberland Gap National Historical Park. Over the years, we've worked tirelessly to acquire important tracts of land to preserve the park's historical significance, especially the Fern Lake watershed, which we recently added to it. One of the greatest feats since Daniel Boone blazed through the gap with early settlers is the impressive Cumberland Gap Tunnel, a $280 million project. It was one of the first that I got my teeth into when I took over this job, and one of the most proud that I've had a piece of over the years. I remember that day when we opened the tunnel, 1996. Many of you were there. Blazing a new trail for tourism, and more importantly, a safer road, relieving the heartache of what was formerly known as Massacre Mountain, the old US 25 highway across the mountain. We also completed critical flood protection projects for the people of Pineville and Middlesboro and Harlan and surrounding communities, and communities all along the Cumberland River. The people of eastern Kentucky are resilient. We don't give up. We don't give in. And we will give out all of the energy and devotion we can muster to help the people of this wonderful part of Kentucky. This Appalachian Wildlife Center is the next chapter in our story. Just imagine this. Next time you or backyard, perhaps. You'll see majestic elk. You'll see turkey, other wildlife flourishing on this beautiful, good land. We'll see kids learning through interactive educational components. And from here, families will be driving on over to Black Mountain in Harlan County or the Cumberland Falls over in Whitley County. This will truly be an anchor destination for the entire region. So again, I applaud David Ledford and the Appalachian Wildlife Foundation and all their leadership. We commend the leaders in Harlan and Bell and surrounding counties and towns. Together, we will transform eastern Kentucky. Good luck and Godspeed to you.
You grab that side and yeah, somebody give us a little mic'd up here. We'll just do it on three. All right, get ready. Okay, we're gonna do this slowly. We'll give you a quick countdown so you can get your cameras ready here. 1, 2, 2.5, 3. There we go. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna put this thing down. Outstanding. And the estimation again is it's 2019 is when we expect that this is June 2019. We'll get to do this like live in front of a real building. It'll be awesome. Outstanding. Hey, good to see you. Terrific. And yeah, the judges.
There was a banker once in an eastern Kentucky community said, you know why they can't make any money out there at that lake? And somebody said, why? And he said, because there's nowhere to spend it. And that's not going to happen here, right, David?
There'll be plenty of opportunities to spend money. In fact, people can spend money now donating to this project.
So that's the beauty of this project, and what we've seen over the last 2 years of what is successful is when it's led by private sector or private individuals that have great ideas that allow government agencies, nonprofit organizations to come alongside and elevate and take across the finish line or get off the ground in this case. Really exciting day. We have our next speaker, Bell County Judge Executive, who's also an ex officio board member of SOAR and been a great partner with our efforts. So Judge Albie Brock.
Thank you, Derek. Good morning. This is a special, special day for me. I stand here more humbled today than I've been in a long time, and I don't remember being more humbled than I am today. This project, I'm going to take just a couple of minutes and kind of give you the history of how we got here today. We've heard a lot about vision and opportunity, and that vision started in 1998 when, and I'm going to recognize her and I'm going to have her stand up. If you would, Judge Jones, please stand up. Jennifer Jones in 1998 worked out a deal with the Asher Land Company in conjunction with the Pine Mountain Regional Industrial Authority, who was chaired by Mike Bolden. Mike, if you would stand up. I'm going to name a lot of people today. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to let this day get by without recognizing the folks that have a lot of investment in this, not just money, but in time. But Jennifer had the vision to take on getting that bridge built. Think about that in 1998. You see where it's at. You're going to come up here. The only way you could get here was a four-wheel drive. And you had to have vision, Jennifer, to see today. So let's give Jennifer a huge round of applause for getting this started. What you see here today, 4 governors have a hand in, and they bear recognizing in that. Paul Patton initially established the Pine Mountain Regional Industrial Authorities and did part of the funding to get this started. You had Ernie Fletcher, who supported the project, Governor Brashear, and now Governor Bevan has closed the deal. So, Governor, again, thank you very much. I rarely use notes. I was putting these together last night and my wife was looking at me like, are you okay? But I know there's too many names not to get mentioned today. So as I go through this, it may be a little broken, but I'm going to get it done. In 2006, this project had stalled, much due to budget concerns at the state level. I decided to use it as a wedge in an election. Wasn't my opponent's fault that the project had stalled, but I stood on that bridge and shot a TV commercial. So this doesn't have to be the bridge to nowhere. It had guardrails across both ends of it. Again, you had to have a 4-wheel drive to get here, and you didn't come up the way we did. You came through the woods to get here. Mike Boland and I had a developer up here one time and almost didn't make it back out. And you know, it's kind of hard when you bring a guy, he was from Indiana, and we're trying to tell him, well, hey, you know, we're going to get money for this road. By the time we got up here to show him the property, he wanted to go back to Indiana. So there was he was gone. So without the road, we knew we couldn't reach this potential that we all knew were here. That's when the guy that I give a whole lot of credit for any success that I've had as county judge, and that's Bob Mitchell. Where are you at, Bob Mitchell? He's not going to like me doing this, but I'm doing it anyway. Bob has served as a counselor, mentor, political father figure for me. And I cannot thank Bob Mitchell enough for the guidance that he gave me in how Frankfort worked, what you got to do, what office, who you go see. He sent me to Bill Nybert when I first got elected. He was the Secretary of Transportation at the time. I walked up to him, I said, Secretary Nybert, we need $10 million to finish this road project down in Bell County. Once he figures out kind of where it's at, he looks at me, he said, there ain't no way in hell you're going to get $10 million. That's the truth. I had 2 magistrates with me when he said it. We backed off and took another run at him, and we got 1.3 million. That got the bridge open, got the sight distance done. I went back to Bob Mitchell again. At about that time, we got a new senator. Brandon Smith came along. Well, that was kind of a little bit of a game changer. That helped us. We had somebody that would champion that. So Brandon and at the time State Representative Rick Nelson, they championed this. That gave us the momentum to get the other $8 million that it took to get the road up here. So I referenced my standing on that bridge using it as a political commercial. I have a guy run against me, and he uses this big 3-lane road to the middle of a field for nothing on me. He shot a commercial on the same bridge. What a waste of money. I would get beat up in the grocery store when we were blacktopping this road through the fiscal court, and any county road that had a pothole in it was a bad spot. They want to know why I was blacktopping to the middle of nowhere when their road was bad. So there's been a whole lot go into getting to where we are today. Then in 2014, I get a phone call from a guy I've never heard of. David Ledford said he called twice. I said, well, he called twice, I better call him back. It was an out-of-town number. I called him, he's traveling with his family down in North Carolina, if I remember right. And he starts telling me, you know, about this, and I mean, he's 95 miles an hour with it. And he says, yeah, we're going to go to Knott County probably and do this. I said, well, don't do that until you came down and looked at what we've got. Before you make a deal in Knott County, come see this. Well, he does. I could tell when he walked in my office after he'd been up here that I think I got this guy, because he'd seen what you all see today and knew it was a fit. So we gave him a punch list that I didn't think he would get done, quite frankly. It involved state government, it involved the Pine Mountain Regional Industrial Authority, it involved Asher Land Company. And quite frankly, I thought his biggest hurdle would be Asher Land Company. But it wasn't. They embraced it. They grabbed it. They saw the potential. And at this time, I want to recognize them for, how many is there? If we got, I'd see 10 there. This, with Asher, anybody that's associated with Asher, and I saw J.R. Golden. All right, I see J.R. Let's give them a round of applause for having vision. When they sold this property back in '98 to the Industrial Foundation, they didn't sell it because they needed the money. So that should mean something. They didn't have to do it, but they wanted to help the community. And when they embraced the Appalachian Wildlife Foundation, that's what put the steam behind this, because David couldn't do what he's doing on just the 500 acres. He needed that additional acreage. So once that was completed, it was off to the Frankfurt. And that's where Secretary Snavely, Sandy Donahue, and Regina Stivers came in. We politicians and elected officials, we get judged by the people that we have around us. We're seeing a good bit of that nationally right now. The governor has chosen some of the most qualified, passionate people in his administration that I've seen in state government in the 3 governors that I've worked with. And I thank you for that, because normally when you go to Frankfurt, it's slow. I see in this out here, there's a whole lot of people that have been trying to get stuff done in Frankfurt at some point or another. And you know how hard it is. Regina kind of grabbed this thing like it was hers and got with David and Sandy, and basically at that point it kind of was like I was out of it after that. They grabbed it, held his hand, and Secretary Snavely, most secretaries don't act as quickly as your administration have. I'm going to tell you that. No, sir, I want you to put your foot in the gas. No, keep doing what you're doing. But I want to give them a round of applause for championing this project. Genuinely, thank you all. But there's been a couple things that have been consistent in this whole thing. I started in '98 and came all the way through. There's one guy that's been in it every single step of the way, and that's Congressman Rogers. There's money. He secured the match money to build that bridge. His chief of staff, I guess at the time, I don't know what Bob's title was when I was begging him for help, held my hand, shepherded me, showed me the way. Then today, we're here because of money that Congressman Rogers secured in Washington, and that Governor Bevin and his staff, we believe, have wisely invested. So, out of all the folks that have been involved in this, nobody gets any more credit or deserves more credit than Congressman Rogers and the people he's chose to have around him. I think I covered them all. I've got to the end of this. Thank you all so much for supporting this. And like David said, if you want to write a check to help get us closer, that'd be great. Still got a ways to go, but David has convinced me now we're going to get there. Congressman Rogers said one time, I'll never forget it, and I've said it a bunch. He said a vision or a great idea is a hallucination without money. I might have changed it a little bit, but that's the case. And, you know, I can't speak highly enough about David as well. You know, he's been at the most persistent. I can't imagine what you were like on a football field. I mean, I absolutely can't imagine that, because he's not stopped. I've not seen anybody work so tirelessly at getting something done. So with that, I'm going to stop. They gave me 2 minutes. I'm sure I burnt that 3 minutes ago, but thank you all so much.
Our next speaker is Harlan Judge Executive Dan Mosley.
I will try to help us get back on schedule here real quick. Albie, it's a big day here in Bell County, and it's great to be with so many friends. I've seen so many people this morning as I walked in from both Harlan and Bell County that are friends, and then those throughout the region. I want to recognize 2 people that are here today that I saw as well as I come in, and that's our friend Judge Executive J.M. Hall from Knox County, and where you at, J.M.? Somewhere. And Judge Jimmy Sizemore from Leslie County, because they recognize the importance, just like Albie and I do, of working together collaboratively across county lines and seeing the importance of big projects and how those big projects can impact our individual counties. I remember the first time I came up here, I was doing what Caleb No does right now. He's the WYMT Cumberland Valley Bureau Chief. I did that from 03 to 05. My first trip up here, Bill Kelly, who was the judge prior to Albie, brought me up here to show me this property, and he's right. They were building the bridge at that time. It was not finished. It was hard to get to. We come up, I think, over on that side, up through the woods. We got stuck that day, and it took an hour of Bill Kelly pushing my vehicle to get us out of the hole that we were in. I was trying to spin the wheels and rev the motor, and finally we found some wood that we were able to stuff underneath the tires to get us up the hill to be able to get out of there. But it was scary. It was a little scary. We thought we were going to have to walk out of there. But I want to talk to you briefly also about our project in Harlan County. Congressman Rogers referenced Tim and David Howard. I also want to mention Malcolm Thomas and Jim Cox that are working with them on this project. Manufacturing wood pellets, and there's a huge demand for this internationally overseas. You've seen these Stokermatic stoves that burn these type of pellets. It's a huge demand. They're almost as popular there as gas fireplaces are in our own homes here in America. And we're excited about using that product and using what's laying on the forest floor and what's laying on the sawmill floor to be able to serve a need internationally. And we thank the Congressman and the Governor for supporting this project. And I want to thank Harry Gibson that's worked on Bulldog this project for the Harlan IDA. Harry, wave your hand there, that way everybody can see you. Thank you, Harry, for doing what you've done with that. But thank Tim and David Howard and what they're doing. That's how government can't save everything. We are not the saviors of everything. It takes private investment, and that's where private investment and government support together can create a good project, just like it's doing in Harlan County, just like it's doing right here with the Appalachian Wildlife Foundation through nonprofit contributions. And we're excited to be a part of it. I'm a big fan of tourism, as Regina knows. Tourism is something that we invite you to Harlan County if you've not been. We have some of the most beautiful four-wheeler trails you've ever been on, particularly this time of year. We see this as a way to get people to southeastern Kentucky and keep them here for more than a day. Keep them here for 2 and 3 days, to spend money, to stay in the hotels, to eat at our restaurants. They won't be a burden on our infrastructure. They'll spend their money here, and they'll go back and they'll tell everyone of the good fortune that they've had here in southeastern Kentucky, because there's nothing greater than our people, and the people that come will get to experience that. So it's a pleasure to be with you today. Senator Smith, appreciate your work in support of these projects. Representative Nelson as well, thank you for being here today as well. It's a great day for southeastern Kentucky, and we're honored to be a part of it. And Governor Bevan, thank you and what your staff are doing, and I love your lapel pins. If you've not noticed, it's a pair of scissors, and it's cutting through red, and that's what we want to be about in Kentucky, is cutting through that red tape, and they're doing a great job doing that. Congressman, thank you. What a leader and a mentor for us here. We learn a lot from Congressman Rogers every day, and his leadership is going to have an impact on this region for lifetimes to come. So thank you, God bless you, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Judge Mosley. You know, I share all the time that when I'm speaking about SOAR, that SOAR is an attitude. And our region faces a lot of uncertainty, and when we face uncertainty in life, we typically face it with fear. It scares us. But what SOAR is about is believing that when things are uncertain, anything is possible. And it's a different way to approach the challenge we have in Eastern Kentucky. And I think the people on this stage today realize it's a new day for Eastern Kentucky. That today we're a team up here celebrating a win, not deciding who funded what and who championed what. That we're all in this together. Everybody out watching this today is in this together and been a part of this, and are going to be a part of the next 5 and 10 years of what we're trying to do in Eastern Kentucky. And this guy embodies that attitude of we don't take no, we don't give in, we don't give up. Congressman Rogers said. David Ledford has definitely been that guy. I've had many times on his number showed up on my cell phone, and many others. I don't think he stops, and the evidence of that is evident here today. So I want to bring him up and let him fill us in and give him a big congratulations for his hard work.
This is a lot different than the first time I rode up on this property. Hey, before I get started on my prepared comments, my parents came up to Tennessee to see this. My mom and dad and my nephew, they're sitting over here. My mom wanted to see her baby boy. And Governor Bevan, when we get done, if you would just go over and get a picture with my mom, she'd just be tore up. She would just, or my aunts would hear about it, and it would be, yeah, it'd be great. Hey, and everybody's talking about me and the Appalachian Wildlife Foundation. I'm not a one-man show. I have 3 of my board members here, and I want to recognize them because besides my wife and my kids, they're really the only ones that truly understand everything that's gone into this. Taylor, where you at? Where's Taylor Orr? He's back there. Leo Essex. Leo is from Bardstown. Taylor's from London. He has Salem Tool and Green Hill Mining Company. And Leo Essex from Bardstown. But then Frank, come up here where people can see you. He hates this. He's going to fuss at me on the way home. You want to talk about grit and perseverance. Frank Allen, yeah, I mean, he's 15, 20 phone calls a day he and I have, and he's invested his time and treasure in this, and he's from Northern Kentucky, lives in Northern Kentucky, and it's just, without those 3 guys, without Frank, it wouldn't happen. Let me just say a couple of things here. It was almost exactly 3 years ago when our board and we decided to develop the Appalachian Wildlife Center. Almost exactly 3 years ago. This had been discussed in 2005 during the Fletcher administration. Jim Host knows about that. In 2007, I worked with Southern Eastern Kentucky Tourism Development Association, working on trying to develop this concept. In 2008, we worked on it. Just never got legs. But in November 13, this became our full-time endeavor. After many years of working with the coal industry on wildlife restoration and wildlife management on mine lands. And I can assure you the last 3 years have been a journey. When we first started talking about the Appalachian Wildlife Center and what we intended to do, we almost always got the same reaction. It was like a silent pause and kind of a glazed over, oh wow, that sounds really neat. That's great, yeah. And they never would say it, but of course everybody just thought we were nuts and it would never amount to anything. They thought we were crazy, and we probably are a little bit. I mean, we started a big, audacious project that will require us to raise $24 million. But now, after the good fortune of this $12.5 million AML grant and the $1.8 million ARC Power grant that was announced last week, we got a whole lot less to raise than we did 2 weeks ago. And it's overwhelming how this thing has taken off now. And over the last 3 years, one of my board members, Frank Allen, he's constantly reminded me of a quote: there is no force more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And this is the time. This is the time. I want to thank you, Governor Bevan, and everybody in your administration that's been working with us. It has been absolutely fantastic. I first met with Tourism Cabinet Secretary Don Parkinson and the Deputy Secretary Stivers. It was remarkable. They said our job is to get something done. Then I met a lady named Sandy Donahue, and one of the first words out of her mouth, she said, "I'm supposed to get stuff done, and we love this, we like this, we're going to get this done." And it's then the Energy Cabinet, Secretary Snavely, Bob Scott at AML. It's just this whole unified, aggressive, positive attitude of getting something done, and it's been a joy to work with. So thank you. And then Congressman Rogers, again, you've come up, and Karen Kelly and your staff, you've come up with these innovative ways to bring resources to the region. And the Abandoned Minelands Fund, I know, I'm very familiar with how that works and the history behind it, but tapping into that to do something new, to try something new, it's very innovative and very forward thinking, and it's a remarkable resource, and thank you very much. Thank you. I got one other person I want to say hi to, Gary Grupton. I'm going to blame this on him. He told me to do it. This is being live streamed right now on YouTube. My wife's, our oldest son, excuse me, he's in I knew this was going to happen. He's in East Africa right now. He's a Marine, United States Marine Corps. He's a captain in the Marine Corps, and he's watching right now, supposedly. So, hey. Get yourself together, Lifted. All right, yeah, I also want to thank Asher Land and Mineral Company. I've worked with the coal industry very closely since 2003 on wildlife conservation, land management issues, endangered species issues, and I've got to know that culture and to know that industry very well. One of our supporters from the very beginning has always been Natural Resource Partners, Maston Liver Partnership. Nick Carter, when he was with them, he was one of the first guy I met with from that side of the industry, these big land holding companies. And Asher Land and Mineral has partnered with us on this, and it's a huge thing that just isn't done, but they're really stepping outside the box. I think they see the potential in this, but Asher has been just a remarkable partner in this, and we're going to have a long partnership, but I want to thank Asher Land and Mineral Company especially. I want to thank Judge Albie Brock. I'm going to tell a little bit different story than he did. I actually drove across the bridge before I talked to him, and I saw the place, and I called him, and I started talking to him, and before, you know how Albie is, before I could ever get all the words out of my mouth, he interrupted. No, I got the place for you to build this thing. And I said, well, where is it? He told me. I said, I'm really glad you said that, because that's what I was going to ask you about. But yes, thank you, Albie. Mike Bowling and the Pimrita Industrial Park Board. Mike has been a friend in many ways and helped us in many ways. And with the industrial park, it was that board that had to make the first decision to work with us on acquiring this industrial park. So thank you, Mike. The Bell County Tourism Commission, I want to thank you guys. I don't see John Grace, but I want to thank the Tourism Commission. They contributed $100,000 to this effort, and we appreciate that. And there's a lot of people, I can't recognize them all. But everybody's recognized that the time for something like this has come. On June 5th, 2019, the Appalachian Wildlife Center will open to the public, and in the first 5 years it is open, the cumulative number of visitors will exceed 2 million people in that first 5 years. Those people are going to leave a mark. They're going to leave a mark. Most of them are not going to be from here. 80% are going to be from out of the region, out of state, but they're going to leave a mark. And they're going to come here to see wildlife, to learn about wildlife conservation. We're going to educate hundreds of thousands of kids. People are going to come up here and look at elk and look at the bears and look at the songbirds, and they're going to celebrate the beauty of this place. And what some might consider a twist of irony, they're going to do it on land that was, these two places were the first mountaintop removal coal mines in East Kentucky. When they come up here, they're not even going to know it until we tell them. But there's some poetry behind that, and so it's going to be a neat story. We have a lot more work to do. We still have to raise about $9 million. That's a lot of money. but it's a lot less than what we had to raise 2 weeks ago. So anyway, anybody listening to this, anybody that's here that wants to help bring the Wildlife Center to fruition, to make it real, get in touch with us. I got a pocket full of business cards. I got 3 board members here, but help us get this done. This is a rare opportunity to contribute to something that's going to be impactful, endearing, and transformative. And thank you again.
Thank you, David. Congratulations. The SOAR Executive Board is made up of not just the governor and congressman, but the other 9 participating board members are by majority from the private sector. I want them to stand up. If you're here today and on the board, the executive board of SOAR, please stand up. We got Jim Host with us, with Jim Host. He is Jim Host, right? Bruce Ayers, former president of Southeast Community Technical College. Gene Hell with Community Trust Bank. Haley McCoy. I know I saw Rodney Hitch back there with East Kentucky Power Cooperative. Kim McCann. Bob Mitchell's here. They've been faithful supporters of this dream of an economy in Eastern Kentucky. So give them a big hand. I got a good friend who's an entrepreneur, and when he goes to these type of meetings, he always says, I look around and see who's getting paid to be there and who's paying to be there. So these people are giving up time from their companies and their full-time jobs to support this work, and I appreciate them. I do want to recognize Beaver Corder. Where's Beaver? He helped coordinate this today. This stage, the straw, everything that happened here today is on Beaver. So give him a hand. Aside from the people on the stage, from media, we also have Greg Johnson here, Commissioner, Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife. We have Dr. Karen Waldrop, Deputy Commissioner of Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife, Senator Brandon Smith, and Representative Rick Nelson. So those are here. If the media would like to do one-on-one questions along with everybody on the stage here. I'm going to invite Good Ground back up. They're going to do one more song for us, and after that, you can consider yourself dismissed. I asked these girls, how long have you been singing? And their mom said 4 years publicly, but their entire lives. And I think it showed earlier, and looking forward to one more song from this group. Good Ground.
There's a dark and a troubled side of life, but there's a bright and a sunny side too. Though we may with the darkest inside, that sunny side we also may view. Keep on the sunny side, always on sunny side. Keep on sunny side of life. It will help us every day. We'll brighten all our ways if we keep on the sunny side of life. Though the storm and its furies broke today, crushing hopes that we cherish so dear, the cloud and storm